2 days, 2 parks, about 8 miles, and a handful of foggy photos. The camera I use to film the video portion of my channel is just a small action camera, and it does a fairly decent job of setting the correct white balance. But I notice on days like these, it can be all over the place. The same can be true for my nicer camera I use for my stills. Some images have more of a colder or blue color cast to them, and others can have a warmer or yellowy cast. Getting the proper white balance for these images wasn't my goal, however. I wanted the best looking white balance for the fog, and I struggled a bit. I didn't want the images to look how they do in the video. And I don't like talking about gear on my channel, but I'll make an exception. My main stills camera is a Fujifilm, which is known for their color science. I find their film simulations really pleasing to the eye, and I use them as a starting point for my edits. I usually start with Astia Soft in the summer, which is colorful but not super contrasty. In the winter, I usually start with Belvia, which has a lot more color saturation and contrast to bring out the muted colors that we typically see in the wintertime. For many of my images these past foggy few days, I went with something completely different, however, which is classic negative. This image was edited using classic negative, which desaturates the colors a bit and provides a lot of contrast. That combination gives the foggy look a nice white look, but with more contrast in the wood to make the non-foggy parts really stand out. This was the only image that I took in Astia Soft. I like the green moss on the tree combined with the hints of blues in the ice in the background. And this one is a bit of a hybrid, giving a broad view of the forest with a nice shade for the fog, avoiding that colder blue tone that I mentioned earlier, but it also brings out some of the colors in the foreground. And probably the classic negative here, high contrast and low saturation. I like how the treetops go down diagonally from left to right as well. And another similar shot, but with a distinct tree and a nice curved trail leading through the scene. Finding the right balance of fog and contrast was tricky on this one, but I like the outline of the mysterious looking trees in the background. With the fog and the cooler temperatures, we couldn't walk very easily without slipping. We didn't see anyone else really walking the trails, but oddly enough, we did see several people running the trails. I'm also a runner, but I do have my limitations. Only in Minnesota, I guess. This one is not really fog related, but it was too tempting to pass up. The little drops on the branches were frozen in place, and the way this one was sticking out was appealing. This one is one of my favorites, and it's also very difficult for me to pass up a scene with a stream, especially one with this clean of a composition. You can even see hints of fog in the background, making the subjects stand out more clearly. And scenes like these are nice with or without fog, but the fog does make the tree angles seem that much more photogenic. This one I nearly didn't include until I applied the classic negative film sim on it. That gives it a grittier, less blue look that I was going for. And I've tried this shot before, but really never in fog like this, and I like this attempt. The fog helps so much in subject separation, making the scenes like these easier to photograph. And a bit different look, but this is something I need to do more of. This is a classic negative still, but I did warm up the white balance a bit to give the leaves in the foreground a bit more pop. With fog, you really get a mixed bag. Sometimes the shots look really cool in person, or what you see in person looks really cool, but it's hard to translate that into a nice image. But I've taken quite a few on this trip. Been just focusing more on looking around and spotting some shots instead of talking too much to the camera. But
I think I have a few. I guess I'm a little excited to get back and start editing them and see how they go. The last couple of days have been pretty foggy, so kind of lucky to get out, especially to a nearby park like this, and see how things look. So hopefully they turn out.
And as these next few clips roll, notice the white balance shifts from colder to warmer, and some even have a hint of green. I thought about trying to color grade all of these, but my action camera is only 8-bit, and it's a small sensor at that, so the frames just fall apart if I go too crazy on them. Plus, getting them all to look similar even after trying to color grade them is an exercise in futility. At least it is for me. You might recognize this shot as my thumbnail to this video, and I knew it was going to be one as soon as I took the shot. I like the minimal scenes like these, and I also like the soft color here with the grasses and the paved trail. And this one is similar in nature, but it comes in second in my book. Still a fun shot though, with a tree cluster off to the right and the trail curving around it. I struggled with the messiness on the left-hand side of this one, but I still like how it frames the image with the birch trees in the background. I also like the tones of greens in the evergreen tree on the right-hand side. And I love how the rolling hills get more consumed by the fog as you go into the background. This is why foggy conditions give these boring shots new life. This is kind of similar, but what I like about this panorama is the distinct trail that cuts through the scene, along with the outline of the trees in the background. And this one almost didn't make the cut, but I like the clean image of this, of that young tree, and the dark contrast of the bark really makes it stand out against the fog.
Believe it or not, this is a different park and a different day. We've been out a lot of mornings over the holiday break and between Christmas and New Year's. And here in Minnesota, at least, it's been unseasonably warm and extremely foggy. And as you can see, there's absolutely no snow on the ground, which is very odd for us this time of year. But I guess it does make for a little bit more comfortable hiking. And especially with this fog, a few more compelling landscape shots, or at least that's the plan. But it's been fun being out this morning in this kind of weather.
This one was a bit experimental. They say groupings of 3 are pleasing to the eye, so I tried to line these trees up equally across the scene. Somehow I like the simple nature of this. This one also almost didn't make the cut, but what made me keep it is the simple composition along with the colors. There are hints of red in the foreground, the subject, and the background that really ties this together nicely. This is another image where the fog is really the true star. I like the outline of the tree in the back, but what I really like are the slopes that form different diagonal lines in the foreground. And one of my favorites here, and I did edit this one a bit, I singled out the swans and made their white feathers a bit cooler white to help them stand out. And the rest of the image I made a bit of a softer white. Hopefully you wouldn't have noticed had I not said anything. And this one was on that same pond, and I like how the reeds are sticking out of the ice, forming an arrow that points to the right. This is my final shot, and one where classic negative film sim really improved the shot. I like how there's a smaller plane of focus on these, but yet you can make out the fore and the background parts of the image.
2 days, 2 parks, about 8 miles, and a handful of foggy photos. It was a fun couple of days, even though the weather's kind of odd for this time of year. But in any case, I hope you enjoy the photos, and if you stuck around to the end, I appreciate it, and I hope to catch you again on the next one. Take care.